Hey folks, see if you've ever had this problem. You're trying to eat a little healthier, but you're in the grocery store aisle, you're looking at packaging, nutrition labels, and they're so confusing, you don't know what's good for you and what's not. Well, this is why I love Thrive Market, my go-to online grocery store for getting all of my healthy essentials delivered, and I don't even have to leave my couch. Finding better options for the whole family is easy with Thrive Market's Healthy Swap Scanner. Just scan a product and it instantly recommends healthier swaps. This is how my wife and I found our new favorite snack, IQ bars. Sometimes I eat one in the morning with my coffee, sometimes just later on in between meals. They also have so many on-site filters that make it simple to shop by the needs of everyone in the family. Maybe you have someone who needs gluten-free food, somebody that has a peanut allergy. Well, no more scouring ingredient labels when you can just filter it all on Thrive Market. My wife and I often use the high protein filter to stock up on things like Sieti chips. Ready to make the switch? Go to thrivemarket.com/TCAT for 30% off your first order, plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/TCATT, thrivemarket.com/TCAT. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 326 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. Both you and I are healthy. Voice is pretty good. We're ready to go.
Ready to hit it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Caitlin.
Hey, Caitlin.
Ruth K.
What's going on, Ruth?
Julie Dunson.
Hey, Julie.
Tim Tarkett.
What's going on, TT?
Betty June Speth.
Hey, Betty.
Brenda Doyle.
Hey, there's Brenda.
Anthony Shube.
Well, thank you, Anthony.
Jamie Elborn.
Hey, Jamie.
Amanda Warner.
Hey, Amanda.
Ashley Woods.
Hi, Ashley.
Brandy Brody.
What's up, BB?
Susan Naring.
Hey, Susan.
Kiera Quanda Mateo.
Well, that's a heck of a name. Thank you.
That's fun to say.
Yeah, thanks, Kiera.
Caitlin Rose.
What's going on, Caitlin?
Chris Summers.
Hey, Chris.
Blackwater Paul.
Well, there's Paul.
Sherry.
Okay, Sherry.
Holly Tapley.
Appreciate that, Holly.
Deborah Manley.
Hey, Manly.
Rachel Deely.
What's going on, Deely?
Don McBride jumped down to our highest level.
Well, you're awesome, Don.
We had Hey Den.
What's going on, hey?
Melissa Snyder.
Well, hi, Melissa.
And last but not least, Melissa Hammond.
And there's the other Melissa.
And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Tim Marsh.
Tim's still going strong.
Yeah, so we appreciate that very much. We had a great PayPal donation from Maria Lukacs.
Well, thank you, Maria.
Yeah, we appreciate all the support we get.
We do.
Very, very much. You know, speaking of Patreon, we put out a Patreon episode on Saturday. We're talking about a man named Franklin Alex, who went on a 6-month murder, rape, and robbery spree down in Texas.
Very angry individual.
Yeah, he was a bad guy. Just didn't seem to care about anyone or anything, really. We also have a new episode out on TCAT Unsolved. We're talking about 20-year-old Joshua Guimon, who left a college party and was never seen again. This happened back in 2002.
Yeah, there were some thoughts that maybe he fell in the water, you know, after having a night out on the town.
Maybe throwing back a few pops.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Could. And then there's some foul play, you know, allegations and some other theories that were chased down.
Okay. Well, we'll do it. We've already done it.
We already have done it.
Go check it out. All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I'm ready.
We're talking about a woman named Rebecca O'Donnell. In June 2019, former Arkansas State Senator Linda Collins was found stabbed to death outside her home. The killer turned out to be an unlikely suspect. Linda's close friend and former campaign worker, Rebecca O'Donnell. So, Gibbs, one of the things that you and I never do is talk politics on any of our podcasts.
Right.
We've said that from the very beginning. We don't want to divide our audience. We don't want to tick people off. And I think people just get tired.
They do.
Of talking about politics. However, to tell this story, obviously we're going to have to talk politics, not what our opinions are, our views or anything like that. So I didn't want people to get worried that we're going to delve into that area, because we definitely won't. Linda F. Collins was born on April 17th, 1962. She was born in Pocahontas, Arkansas. Now, Linda's family didn't have a lot of money. She grew up in a house without running water. And this is not 1918. This is 1962.
Yeah.
So I do think that tells you what type of situation she grew up in.
Doesn't sound like a easy life.
No, it doesn't sound like an easy life at all. But obviously she made something of herself because she became a state senator. Linda was a businesswoman and a Republican member of the Arkansas Senate. From 2015 to 2019, she started off her career as a real estate agent. She and her husband, Phil Smith, built a Days Inn Holiday and remodeled another hotel into a rock and roll theme. Linda ran both businesses. She also founded a county tourism association and then eventually decided to run for office.
So it sounds like she was a successful businesswoman.
Yeah, sounds like she was. Now, here's my question. I have a really good friend who's into politics. Like, he actually has a position. I won't give it away, but I don't understand why. And maybe it's just the type of person I am. Politics or anything to do with that just doesn't seem like it would be my cup of tea. I get one to change things and make things better. I understand that.
Right.
Part of it. It just seems like nobody's ever happy with you.
But you can gain a lot of power.
But I don't want power. I've never wanted power.
Yeah.
I just want to be happy. And I wonder how many politicians are truly happy.
That I'm not sure of, but a lot of them are pretty powerful. And with power comes money. And with all that comes great responsibility.
Yeah. Okay. It does, Spider-Man, but where's the happiness?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm just not sure if it's there or not. From 2011 to 2013, Linda was a member of the Arkansas House of Representatives. She switched from the Democratic to the Republican Party in August 2011. In 2014, Linda won a seat in the Arkansas Senate. In 2017, Linda introduced the highly controversial Senate Bill 774, called the Arkansas Physical Privacy and Safety Act. This act would have prohibited people from using government restrooms or changing facilities for the opposite sex. So a very hot topic, even today. I mean, this was essentially 5-6 years ago,
right,
that we're talking about, but this is something that crops up in the news even today. Now, this bill didn't pass, but like I mentioned earlier, this is the type of thing where, okay, some people are going to be happy about it. A lot of people are going to be upset about it. Was it Abraham Lincoln that said you can please some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time? No.
Was that Groucho Marx? I don't know.
No, it was definitely Abraham Lincoln. I just can't remember the quote. Some of the people all of the time, but not all of the people some of the time. Or maybe it's the other way around.
Something like that.
There was a quote like that. But I think it had to do with politics, and it's probably something that still holds true today. You just can't please everyone because your view as a politician is not going to line up with everybody else's.
I think like there's a Frank Underwood quote here. I just can't pull it out of me.
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Linda's friend, Rebecca Becky O'Donnell, worked on Linda's campaign and served as her aide while Linda was a senator. She also did the books for the motel in Pocahontas. The two women met through Linda's friend, Tim Loggins. Loggins was Rebecca's fiance at the time of her arrest. In 2018, Linda Collins lost her seat in the Senate to Representative James Sturch. Around this same time, Linda was going through a divorce. Linda and Phil were married for 23 years. She met Phil when he was working as an attorney. and municipal judge in Pocahontas. At the time, Linda already had 2 children, Tate Williams and Butch Smith. Phil raised them like his own children. But Linda and Phil divorced in 2018 after he was involved in a public scandal. Phil Smith retired on December 31st, 2017, after a complaint was filed against him. And anyone who researches this case may see Linda referred to as Linda Collins Smith. I think she did use that name up until her divorce, but in most of the reporting, they just used the name Linda Collins. So just for the sake of continuity, I'm going to keep it that way. In February 2018, Phil Smith received a reprimand from the Arkansas Judicial Discipline and Disability Commission. The complaint stated that while Smith was in office, he used state computer equipment outside working hours for what they called extrajudicial activities.
Okay, that's a fancy name.
Well, it's a fancy name. It also could encompass a lot of things.
Yeah.
Basically, using it for anything not having to do with your job. It could be anything from fantasy football to, something much worse.
Right.
Now, I think we get some clarity into it because according to Linda's friend Tim Loggins, Linda saw Phil watching pornography on his work computer.
Well, that's a no-no.
Well, listen, we're talking 2017, 2018. You and I have been in the business world a long time. I was in the business world. You still are. We had company issued laptops for many, many years. One of the things that right off the bat is that there are certain websites you should not be visiting on your work computer.
Exactly.
Because they're going to get some type of report. It's going to flag somebody and they're going to know that you were looking at, furries.com or whatever it is. And you're going to get in big time trouble. Now, how this guy didn't know it as an educated judge, or maybe he just thought he was above the law. I don't know if this is what he really did.
Furries are going to come after you now, man.
That's all right. In February 2019, the Arkansas Judicial Discipline and Disability Commission announced the public reprimand of Philip Smith and the agreement that he would not serve in the judiciary again. So this is a big deal.
It's huge.
I mean, you're talking about, a guy who was a judge and now they're saying you no longer can be one.
Yeah. Well, when you use state equipment to look at your porn and not knowing what type of porn he was looking at, that could also have a...
Well, I think any type of porn would be bad, but I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
If that's what happened, I got to say that.
Sure.
Some of this was an allegation made by, one of Linda's friends. Tate Williams told Dateline that Linda and Phil had a good business relationship, but they were unable to work through personal issues. The divorce settlement took a long time because Linda and Phil fought over business, money, property, and pensions. Linda and Phil sold the hotel when they divorced, according to Fox 13. Now, a lot of people get divorced.
They do.
It's never easy. Some are easier than others. When you have multiple businesses, when you have a ton of money and children and, it becomes tougher and tougher.
It does.
There are extra layers involved when you have to sell businesses and houses to divide up money. So it can take a lot longer. According to Tim Loggins, Phil got almost everything in the divorce, but Linda appealed. The judge said it could take another 17 months, and Phil collapsed and asked if it would ever end. Linda was also said to have been afraid of Phil, according to Tim. So, the first thing that jumped out at me was Phil got almost everything in the divorce.
Lucky.
You don't hear that very often.
No. I just went through one that didn't work out that way.
You didn't get almost everything?
No.
And normally in a man and wife marriage, the man doesn't get everything. If anything, normally I'm not saying everything, but
right.
The wife definitely should get her share and sometimes even gets a little bit more, depending on how much the husband makes or what the circumstances are. So that one just struck me as a little odd. And then you have this allegation that Linda was afraid of Phil. Linda's son, Butch, talked to Dateline about a period of 2 years in the early 2000s. When Linda was very sick, blood work revealed that she had a high level of mercury in her system. Apparently, she suspected that Phil might have been behind this. Linda's close friend, Rebecca O'Neill, said in her 2019 police interview that Phil used to hit Linda and that Linda was scared of Phil. Linda changed her locks, kept a gun in her nightstand, and asked Tim Loggins to help her install a security system. So now we're getting a little more insight into why maybe Linda was afraid of Phil. If he was abusive, if he struck her, then you could see why she would have been afraid of him.
Of course, yeah. Maybe that's kind of part of the divorce was just give him everything.
Well, you're bringing up a good point, because to me, it was out of the ordinary. Could there have been something behind the scenes that scared her so much that she signed off on something that she didn't want to do?
But you had to.
But she felt as though she had to for her own personal safety. Well, now, we have no idea what that would be. And I don't know that there have been any allegations that happened. We're just kind of talking about possibilities. After the divorce, Linda moved back to Pocahontas and started dating someone several months later. She was also looking into finding a lobbying job after losing her seat in the Senate. Linda went to Washington, D.C. in late May 2019 for a job hunting trip. She stopped in Arizona after her trip to Washington because she wanted to go dancing with her cousins for her birthday. Rebecca O'Donnell picked her up from the airport on May 27, 2019. Linda was last seen alive on May 28, 2019. She last talked to her daughter on the 27th. Linda said that her interview went well and everything seemed fine. 2 days later, Tate texted Linda a picture of some shoes, and Linda didn't respond, which was unusual, but she thought her mom was just busy. As more days passed without anyone hearing from Linda, Tate grew concerned. She lived 2 hours away, but Butch Smith lived in Pocahontas. After a week of not hearing from her mother, she called Butch and asked him to go to Linda's house to check on her. Butch drove by and saw Linda's truck in the driveway. She didn't answer the door, but everything seemed normal at the house. The next day, June 4th, Tate called her grandfather, Benny Collins. This was Linda's father because he had a key to the house. She was on the phone with him when he got there. He noticed that Linda's truck was unlocked, which was highly unusual because Linda never left her car unlocked. He went to the back door and was able to open it. He walked through the house calling Linda's name, but couldn't find her. Linda's house was under renovation at that time, so I guess it was pretty messy, which anybody who's gone through a pretty big renovation knows that your house can get super, super messy.
Majorly messy.
Benny saw a large dark stain on the kitchen floor. Tate offered to call Butch, who arrived at the house just a few minutes later. At first, Butch thought the stain was coffee that had been spilled on the floor because Linda was a heavy coffee drinker, just like myself.
I would say, just as you are.
Yeah. People are sending me so much coffee that it's hard for me to drink it, but I always get a kick because I always get an email. How'd you like the coffee? And it's always good.
Yeah.
I very rarely have bad coffee, but I'm getting to try some kind of unusual ones, and I really like them.
You're digging it, huh?
Yeah. But I do drink a lot of coffee. Now, they sent Tate a video of the stain, and she thought it was blood. They found Linda's suitcase with the tag still on it, and they couldn't find her purse or cell phone. So, I mean, let's just stop for a minute and talk about kind of what this scene would mean to someone. Let's say you.
Yeah.
You walk in, you see this stain. Apparently, it's not obvious whether it's blood, it's coffee. Some people's opinions differ. The suitcases are found with the tag still on them. Okay, to me, that doesn't mean a lot.
No.
Usually, when I go to take a trip, I'm taking the tags off from the last trip.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
It's just not something that I worry about. Now, you could make something out of the fact that they're not open, the clothes haven't been used, they haven't been put away, maybe something like that. But the tags on them don't mean a lot to me. Now, they might have known that Linda was a very different person, though. But when you then can't find her purse or cell phone, to me, that is a big deal. If my wife's not here, but her purse and cell phone are, I'm a little worried right away.
Yeah, if you walk in the house and see this big stain and you see your mom's purse and wallet or cell phone, but you can't find mom anywhere, that's concerning. I would be concerned.
Butch and his grandpa closed up the house and were walking to their cars when they smelled a foul odor. Benny asked Butch to check a tarp on top of some construction material, which was being held down with a brick. Butch lifted up the tarp and found his mother's body. Linda was laying face down with her arms above her head and was wrapped in a comforter. So right off the bat, I have to ask the question, how horrible would it be to find your mother's dead body?
Oh, be horrific.
Yeah. I mean, I would fall to pieces. I don't know how I recover from something like that. Number one, just knowing that she's dead, but then finding her and seeing her like that, and maybe that having be the last image that I have of her, that would be horrible. But then the second part, the fact that she's wrapped in a comforter. What do you make of that?
Foul play. I mean, immediately you're thinking foul play. You're thinking, did somebody care a little bit for her to do that instead of just dragging her body out?
Yeah, that's where my mind was kind of going. Foul play for sure. But if you have the tarp that is hiding the body, why do you need the comforter? Unless the comforter was needed to sneak the body out of the house, you could make that argument. But I think you could also make the argument that maybe this was someone who not only knew her, but cared for her and wrapped her up in, I know this sounds strange, but almost a loving way.
Yeah. It also makes it easier to move the body.
It does.
When you wrap it in something, you can pull on it instead of trying to pull on the body and leaving a trail, whatever. So
yeah, so it definitely could be a number of things. Don't let allergy season slow you down. Get common allergy meds for as little as $15 with GoodRx. So you and your family, pets included, can stop allergy symptoms before they start. GoodRx is free and easy to use. Just search for your prescription on the website or the app, compare prices, and get a free coupon to show your pharmacist. Save at over 70,000 local pharmacies nationwide, including Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Publix, Kroger, and many more. Check GoodRx before every trip to the pharmacy to save up to 80% on both brand and generic medications. And did you know GoodRx rewards you for saving money too? Join GoodRx Rewards today and earn points every time you use a coupon. Remember, GoodRx is not insurance, but works whether you have insurance or not. And it could be your insurance copay price. I've been using GoodRx for years, and I can't tell you how many times I have saved money even with my insurance. Stop allergies before they start and save big on allergy medications this season with GoodRx. Go to goodrx.com/TCAT. That's goodrx.com/TCATT. You know, once the temps start rising, I realized I was back in the same worn out rotation. Same tank, same shorts, same everything. So I gave my daily uniform an upgrade with Quince. Their pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make me feel more put together without even trying. Like their 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30. Luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. The best part, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I'm getting ready to stock up on shorts for summer from Quince, and I know they're going to be amazing because everything I've ordered has been of the highest quality, and the prices are amazing. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/TCAT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/TCATT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TCAT. Butch called 911. The Magnolia Reporter wrote that the Randolph County Sheriff's Office issued a statement that the condition of the body prevented any immediate positive identification. Linda's body was sent to Little Rock to be identified and for her cause of death to be determined. The Arkansas State Crime Laboratory Medical Examiner's Office eventually determined that Linda died of multiple stab wounds, but her injuries were initially reported as gunshot wounds.
So that's a little rough to hear. Now you know what the kids saw.
Yeah, gruesome sight for sure.
Hard to recognize, hard to identify.
It was reported that there were no signs of forced entry, which suggested to authorities that Linda most likely knew her killer. That comes up in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it holds true 100% of the time. Obviously, nothing does, because you technically could open the door for a stranger.
You could, and I think a lot of people do.
And that stranger could bull rush you and hurt you or something like that. But I think a lot of times it ends up being you let this person in because you knew them. They didn't have to break in. They were already inside. Tim Loggins and Becky O'Donnell came to the crime scene and spoke to the police. Becky said she picked Linda up at the airport on May 27th. They spoke to Tim while they drove home. She claimed she didn't know the exact travel details because she had lost her phone. On May 28th, Linda texted her and asked her to bring lunch to the house. Linda told her that Rendell Wallace, her boyfriend, spent the night at the house and left early that day. Linda said it took Rendell 4 hours to respond to her texts and calls. Becky said she shouldn't be upset and that they needed to slow down and take things easy. During their final call, Linda mentioned going to Rendell's place. According to Dateline, Becky said, "I thought you didn't want me in your personal stuff. Don't tell me." Linda hung up on her. She didn't show up for a meeting at the motel later that day. So, we're getting some more information, but keep in mind, all of this that we just talked about is coming from one person.
Sure, one source.
Becky O'Donnell. Tim Loggins told investigators that Rendell was probably the last person to see Linda. The police spoke with Wallace on June 4th, 2019. They learned that he and Linda had dated before and drifted apart. They were reacquainted just a couple of weeks before she died. Apparently, Linda called Rendell and asked him to come over when she got home from her trip. He spent the night and said that he left at 7 a.m. He texted Linda several times and she didn't answer, but he just thought maybe she was in meetings. Now, both of Linda's children suspected that Phil Smith was involved because of the divorce.
I mean, that's a possibility when you're thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think authorities, I'm sure, would look at this guy. Relationship goes south. There's a divorce, ex-husband. That person's always going to be looked at. And I think especially when it comes out, these allegations that maybe he was physical with Linda, that's another element.
It is.
And police are going to want to look into that. Phil Smith denied killing Linda. And he also denied to both the police and Dateline the allegations against him. He said he had not heard the accusation that he tried to poison Linda. He said he didn't do that. He acknowledged that they had a bitter divorce, but said he was not physically violent, emotionally abusive, and did not stalk Linda. Now, I don't know if that is something that most people would admit on Dateline, but these are also allegations made by third parties. Is there corroboration? I don't know that there was.
That's a tough sell, right?
It is. It is. It's also a tough position to be in to try to defend yourself if you really didn't do this after the person who people have said was your victim has been killed.
Yeah.
They can't help you or hurt you. They can't say what was the truth. Linda's case was sealed on June 5th, 2019, which left the media with many questions. Circuit Court Judge Harold Irwin issued a gag order on documents and statements obtained by law enforcement during the investigation. After the gag order was issued, there were many conspiracy theories that Linda's murder was politically motivated.
I bet there was all kind of theories floating around.
Well, there are conspiracy theories in any case until something is proven, right? We cover that all the time on True Crime All the Time Unsolved. But here you have a person who was pretty powerful, had some power, and we said, tried to pass what was said to have been a very controversial bill. Could somebody have been mad enough about that bill, even though it didn't pass, to want to harm her?
Possibly.
Something that you'd have to consider. On June 7th, the Arkansas State Police confirmed that the remains found on June 4th were, in fact, Linda Collins. The police saw that Linda's security cameras were taken down, but they didn't know when they had been taken down. Linda received emails when her cameras picked up something. Her daughter was able to get into her email account and saw notifications from May 28th, 2019. So Tate, her daughter, called the police and reported it, confirming that the cameras were running on the day of the murder. All right, pretty big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Number one, the fact that she had security cameras that were then taken down. So who took them down? You can easily surmise that whoever took them down also killed her because they didn't want that footage of them to be discovered.
Sure.
But you have her daughter, who's very resourceful. A lot of kids are, is able to break into her email and finds out that they were up on the 28th, which means most likely she was alive up until that point.
Now you have more of a timeline.
Yeah, more of a defined timeline. Investigators also learned that someone had logged into Linda's account after she died. Some videos had been deleted, but the security company was able to provide videos from May 28th. So now you have someone who thinks that they're super smart. They're covering all their bases, right? Taking down the security cameras, figuring out a way to delete the videos. What they don't know is that the videos are backed up somewhere off site.
Yeah. So they're not gone.
No, and that's what I keep talking about. What really is gone in today's age?
Well, in today's age, I don't think anything's gone. I think you think it's gone, but it's floating up there somewhere on the cloud.
And when you looked up, I'm assuming you mean the cloud?
I did.
You literally looked up at my ceiling.
I'm like, yeah, it's floating around up there.
But, I do believe that. These messages that kids are sending back and forth, if you're sending racy pictures of yourself.
Yeah.
And you think someone's deleted it. Have they? Or have they sent it off to someone else? And the next thing you know, it's on websites.
Before you know it.
And you can never get rid of it. The police received the security footage on June 14th, 2019, the day of Linda's visitation. In this footage, they saw Becky leave the house, just like she said she did. 3 hours later, the garage camera picked up a woman screaming. A video on the night of the murder showed someone hiding under a white sheet and sneaking into the house. Investigators continued watching and eventually figured out who killed Linda. It was Becky O'Donnell. Becky O'Donnell was arrested for the murder of Linda Collins that same day. The police actually arrested her while she was on her way to Linda's visitation.
How strange is it that she was on her way to pay respects to a woman that she actually killed? That will come out later that she killed.
But she has to keep up appearances, right? What would it look like if she doesn't show up to the visitation?
Yeah, I mean, she's doing what she should be doing if she was trying to get away with something.
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem is they already know it's her. The police found inconsistencies in Becky's statements. Apparently, she lied about losing her cell phone. Becky said she and Linda spoke on the phone after their argument, but she hadn't seen her since. But she did say she stopped by the house once to check on Linda. However, Tim Logan said Becky stopped at the house more than once. Also, Butch Smith said that when he went to his mom's house the first time, on June 3rd, Becky was also there knocking on the door. Both of Linda's children told Dateline that they were concerned with Linda's closeness with Becky and Tim. Linda was very protective of her personal information and money, so they thought it was strange how involved Becky was with Linda's personal information and the fact that Tim had power of attorney during the divorce. And according to divorce records from the Arkansas Administrative Office of the Courts, Rebecca O'Donnell appeared as a corroborating witness in Linda's divorce case, and Tim Loggins served as power of attorney for Linda Collins. So, yes, these are friends, but man, they are very involved in some crucial things here.
Sure. In her life.
And then, you hear from her kids, she's very protective of her personal information. Records show that in October 2018, Phil Smith filed an emergency motion in the Randolph County Circuit Court involving Tim Loggins because he had power of attorney. The motion was about a tax refund worth more than $50,000. Phil Smith wanted half of the money because he said they were marital funds. Okay, I get the fact that they were marital funds. What I want to know is who in the hell's getting a tax refund of $50,000?
Exactly. How do you get that?
I want one of those.
Me too.
Butch Smith also told police that in the days before Linda was killed, money was missing from his grandfather's account. Linda had access to this account, but Butch said she would never have taken her dad's money. And it turned out that the handwriting on the checks was not Linda's handwriting. They knew that Becky had access to those accounts. Becky told the police that she signed the checks with Linda's permission and that she signed Linda's name on checks with Linda's permission. You think they believe that?
No.
Now, I get it. Some people, might have somebody in their life that handles their finances, and they might give some type of power to them like that. I go back to what her kid said. She was very protective of her personal information, her money.
Right.
I can't imagine that she's just going to give over power to someone to write checks kind of willy-nilly. That doesn't make sense.
Even her best friend.
Yeah, even her best friend. Investigators believe Becky may have stolen up to $50,000 from Linda. The police theorized that Linda's daughter tipped her off about the checks, and she wanted to talk to Becky about it. They believe that Linda confronted Becky about the money stolen from her father's account and possibly money missing from the motel, and that Becky killed Linda during this confrontation. And I get it. Police come up with theories all the time, right? And then they work to find the evidence that supports those or, corroborates them. But just looking at the theory on its own, you can see that it does make some sense. Becky's already admitted she wrote the checks.
Right.
There's thought that Linda would never have allowed this. Now, you find out that money was taken from her father's account. And so you can imagine her at some point after finding out wanting to confront Becky about this. Now, what happens in Becky's mind if she's confronted? I'm in big trouble.
Yeah.
I could go to jail.
Stealing money. I'm forging signatures. I'm doing all this stuff.
So do I have to do something drastic so that this never comes out? Obviously these are things that the police are thinking about. And Rebecca had been accused of theft in the past. According to NEA report, in 2014, a business owner named Melissa Jones hired Rebecca O'Donnell. She knew Rebecca because she was friends with her sister. They talked about Jones' consignment store, and Rebecca asked if she was hiring. Jones said that she had an open cashier position for $10 an hour. Rebecca didn't want to work for $10 an hour. Jones offered her the job temporarily until she could find a higher paying job. It's pretty nice of her.
A good person.
Well, it sounds like she's trying to help her out. Most people, they wouldn't hire someone that they didn't know with it right out front in the open that they don't really want the job, and say, well, just do it temporarily. That does sound like a person trying to help another person out.
Yeah.
And maybe she was doing that for her sister since they were friends. Maybe.
Probably.
In October 2014, Jones learned that an employee caught Rebecca putting a bag of designer jeans behind an outdoor dumpster. She called the police, and Rebecca asked her not to press charges because of her children. She told Rebecca to leave the store. Rebecca's sister sent her a Facebook message telling her that she wished she would have pressed charges because she had recently learned that Rebecca had stolen from other people. She claimed Rebecca stole her mother's retirement money, about $160,000.
Wow, that's not easy to take.
Well, that's not a bag of designer jeans.
No.
That is a boatload of money.
Yeah, and that's not going to sit good with your family.
No, because, it's from family. You're stealing from family. Your sister's mad at you because, number one, that's her mom as well.
Sure.
She wants her to have enough money to live out the rest of her life. But also she's probably thinking someday some of that's going to be mine.
Yeah. And maybe now mom can't go where we want her to go, so she's living with us.
Yeah, that could absolutely be the case.
Yeah.
And you know who's probably not going to want to take care of her? Becky O'Donnell.
Exactly.
Additionally, in 2007, Becky's former husband, Jeff O'Donnell, reported to the police that Becky was trying to have him killed. A friend said that Becky was offering $50,000 to kill her husband. Becky admitted that she had talked about it, but said she was drunk and wasn't being serious. No charges were filed.
She got off easy there.
Well, I get it. You're going to try to play it off as though it was a joke.
Yeah.
I was drunk. I didn't really mean it, but you're soliciting murder.
Yeah.
Let's not downplay it.
No joke for the rest of the people.
No, I'm really shocked that no charges were filed. To be honest with you, you could get quite a few people probably to kill your husband for $50,000.
I don't think it'd be too hard to do. I think you probably get a few people even for less than that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We know we've done cases where, people have killed for much, much less. Now, none of this information was public knowledge at the time due to this gag order that we talked about. On June 17th, 2019, Rebecca O'Donnell was charged with capital murder, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. On June 16th, Tim Loggins talked to Good Morning America about Linda's murder. He said he had no idea why Rebecca was arrested on suspicion of capital murder. He said he was the one who told Rebecca that Linda was dead. KAITA reported that when she heard the news, she collapsed. Over a week after the murder, they were on the way to Linda's memorial service when they were pulled over by the police. Tim said, they stopped us with my 13-year-old son in the truck. We stopped, and they have AR-15s pointed at us. You could see the look of utter disbelief in her face, not knowing what was going on. You could just see it. So obviously, here's a guy who is shocked by the arrest. He doesn't believe that Rebecca could have anything to do with it.
Because it's her best friend.
But I think there's one thing you have to ponder, and it's whether, this is genuine surprise that Tim is expressing, or if he knows more than he's willing to say at this point. Logan said about Becky's relationship with Linda. They were close. You got to understand, Becky worked for Linda, but Linda was a family friend. It was like Becky's sister. Linda was like my sister. Loggins also talked about their involvement in the divorce case and how he was under scrutiny when he served as Linda's power of attorney. He told GMA, I didn't want to do it, but Linda needed the help, and you help a friend when they need it. I never made a nickel off of helping Linda do any of that, period. So again, you got to wade through what's being said and figure out what's true, what's not true. If what he is saying is true, then you would have to think it puts him in the camp of not having anything to do with this murder at all.
Right.
We'll have to wait and see if that's the case. Logan said he was 100% certain that Rebecca had nothing to do with Linda's murder. He also denied any involvement on his part, saying she's not capable of this. Either she is the best actress in the world and completely fooled me, or there's not a chance she did this. I'm going with there's not a chance she did this. Now, one thing I will say, and it does crop up in many cases, I do think it's very hard for friends and family to believe that someone they know, someone they love, someone they're very close with could do something like what the police are claiming they've done.
Right. Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to just accept. I do think you're going to fight that. You're going to say there's no way until maybe it's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Until then, though, you're going to probably stand by your belief that she didn't have anything to do with this.
Yeah. And I think a lot of friends would do that, and family as well. On July 30th, 2019, prosecutors sought the death penalty against Rebecca O'Donnell. The arrest affidavit was released that same day. The affidavit revealed that home security footage shows Rebecca removing security cameras 6 days before Linda was found. Okay, that's pretty damning.
It is.
Pretty hard to explain why you felt as though you needed to remove security cameras if you didn't do anything you were afraid somebody was going to find out about.
Yeah, it's kind of premeditated there.
So this was a big deal, right? Because they'd had this gag order. Really, no information had been released. Now you have this bombshell. The judge also allowed the release of a redacted affidavit, criminal information, pleadings, and other motions. But the prosecution, defense, and law enforcement were ordered not to make extrajudicial statements. So it sounds like he wasn't lifting it completely, but some information was getting out. The Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette reported that a spokeswoman for the Community Correction Division said Rebecca was on probation from 2010 to 2013 for theft. She was ordered to pay a $1,000 fine and $2,681 in restitution.
So she had a history of theft?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about some already. I don't know that police were contacted every time. She talked her way out of some stuff. But obviously, whatever this was for, she didn't. She got 3 years probation, had to pay back some money. On January 14th, 2020, Rebecca O'Donnell was accused of attempting to hire Jackson County jail inmates to kill Linda's ex-husband, Phil Smith, former Judge Harold Irwin, and prosecutor Henry Boyce. According to court documents, Rebecca was charged with 2 counts of solicitation to commit capital murder and 2 counts of solicitation to commit tampering with physical evidence.
She keeps going from bad to worse. She's not helping her situation.
No, she's definitely not helping it. She's hurting it, if anything. Now, she could have thought, what do I have to lose? They got a lot of evidence against me. I don't know. But when you try to have 3 people killed,
Yeah.
and you're already being held for murder, it's not looking good for you.
Not looking good for you at all.
You know, even the smallest step forward can make a big difference in your financial future. When you open a Chime checking account, you're one step closer to a better financial future with no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Making progress has never been easier. I think we've all been in that position where we've had an overdraft. Well, with Chime, you can overdraft up to $200 with no fees. That's amazing. And they have over 50,000 fee-free ATMs. Make progress towards a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/TCAT. That's chime.com/TCATT. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs. MyPay eligibility requirements apply. Credit limits range from $20 to $500. $2 fee applies to get funds instantly. Crime checking account required. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. True Crime All the Time is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, folks, therapy can feel like a big investment, but let's think about the state of your mind. It's just as important as your physical health. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up really fast. But with BetterHelp online therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. And you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. I've used the BetterHelp service for years, and I love the fact that, I can connect with a therapist in a comfortable spot in my home on my laptop. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/TCAT today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TCATT. A probable cause affidavit was released on January 14th, 2020, stating that Rebecca O'Donnell attempted to hire her cellmates to kill Phil Smith and his wife. In October 2019, she told a cellmate that she wanted Phil Smith's death to look like a suicide, and she wanted the note to be left at the scene. She also wanted them to kill Phil's wife. Now, instead of paying her cellmates, she told them to steal gold and silver from the house. O'Donnell said she was targeting Smith because he, quote, set her up. She also asked these people to find her car in police custody and burn planted evidence. And I already mentioned it, but these inmates reported that she also asked them to kill Judge Harold Irwin and prosecutor Henry Boyce.
She wanted Phil Smith gone because, according to her, he had set her up. And then these other two, right, the judge and the prosecutor, were out to get her.
But here's the thing that I never understand. She would not have been the first person to have wanted a judge killed, a prosecutor killed. Do these people really think that if these people go away, that their case just magically disappears?
Yeah, I don't think she's the brightest
bulb.
Yeah.
Well, obviously not, because she wouldn't have done all the things she did. But
right.
Do you not think that they're going to get another judge? Do you not think they have another prosecutor in the stable? Now, you might delay things a little while,
but eventually.
But it's not going away. So I never understand that.
Yeah, it's not like the judge is gone, the prosecutor is gone, so all these cases
we give up.
Just throw them in the dumpster.
We got to let all these people go. According to CNN, Rebecca's fiance issued a statement on the new charges. We cannot imagine the evidence will substantiate these allegations. The allegations defy believability. I won't even comment on the informant's extensive criminal history, but instead, we'll wait to see if the state produces credible evidence at trial. Okay, again, saying the same thing. This is her fiance.
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't want to believe that she's really capable of this.
Well, I think she's very good at lying and pulling the wool over his eyes. So, yeah, he is going to believe what she tells him.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you would like to read in depth about the inmate statements, you can find the probable cause affidavit online. I'm not going to read it here. It would make the episode really, really long, but it is very interesting. Rebecca's attorney, Lee Short, gave a statement to ABC News and cast doubt on the inmates' statements. He brought up the fact that inmates are offered reduced punishment in exchange for cooperation, and 3 out of 4 inmates who came forward were awaiting trial in a scheme to steal a man's Social Security debit card information. Short told ABC, it's not surprising at all. Inmates do it all the time. In high-profile cases, especially homicides, people tend to seek opportunities to improve their situations by giving statements against people. And I would have to say that's absolutely true, based off the history and the research that we've done.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have inmates come forward, given statements in exchange for something? Maybe it's leniency on their sentence. And then you find out later that what they said was complete BS. Not saying it happens every time.
But it happens a lot.
Well, it happens because there's a real vested interest.
Of course.
In them doing it because they're getting something in return. And that something could be very, very valuable to them.
Yeah, especially if they get out of prison
earlier. Or right then and there, or whatever it is. The Washington Post reviewed public divorce records and learned that Linda and Phil were fighting over the whereabouts of $28,000 worth of gold and silver coins. Phil said he found about $4,000 worth of coins, but he and Linda said in court that they didn't know where the other $24,000 worth of coins were. A judge ordered them to find the coins. A September court settlement noted that they didn't find them. Linda's estate was ordered to pay Phil $10,000 as a replacement value for the coins. On January 29, 2020, Rebecca appeared in court to plead not guilty to all the new charges. The judge modified the gag order and lifted the order barring disclosure of information from the medical examiner's office, Arkansas State Crime Lab, and the Arkansas FBI. On April 30th, prosecutors alleged that Rebecca killed Linda for money. Special prosecuting attorney Robert Dietrich filed a notice for aggravated circumstances, stating that Rebecca committed the murder for monetary gain and to avoid or prevent arrest. Dietrich took on the case in December 2019 after Henry Boyce withdrew. Now, why did Henry withdraw from the case? I don't know for sure. It might have had something to do with the threats on his life.
That's a good reason.
But there again, it's not like the case just fell apart. They just got a new prosecutor and the case moves forward. In May 2020, the judge signed a warrant for Linda's accounts and records, including her Google account, location history, web and activity, email address, names, addresses, phone numbers, and IP addresses from May 25th through June 4th.
It's amazing all the stuff that they can get on you.
Well, and just think about what all that information could tell you. We've talked before about how some people believe, deleting things off their computer or clearing their browsing history kind of just wipes everything away. But it really doesn't.
No, it does not.
It's amazing what people can recover from a computer. And, more and more, I think they can recover it without even having the computer.
It really is amazing. I mean, we even talked about it in the unsolved case that, came out at the same time this case did.
I'm telling you, Google knows everything you do.
Google, man, it scares me on what they know. They hear you. Like right now, our phones are nearby.
They're listening to us. I know.
Yeah. And I can say, I'm looking think about buying a new SUV. And you know what? I guarantee you, when we're done,
you'll get an ad.
There'll be an ad on there for some new SUVs.
Well, I'll tell you this. Every time we get a new sponsor, one that I've never heard of or never dealt with, I always do a little research.
Yeah.
And invariably, the next time I go on YouTube, you know what the first ad is that pops up?
Oh.
Whatever this
ad is
thing is that I just researched.
Yeah.
That scares the you-know-what out of me. In May 2020, investigators announced that a search warrant was issued in April to allow the police to search a Ford Focus owned by Rebecca's mother. And a search warrant was issued to allow the police to search computer towers, computers, and storage devices owned by Linda and or her hotel. The Randolph County Sheriff's Office searched the vehicle and sent it to the State Crime Lab for DNA analysis during a June 12, 2020 pretrial hearing. Judge John Fogelman announced that he would be unsealing at least 51 documents, but he didn't say when. Prosecutor Dietrich hinted to ABC in a June 2020 interview that the arguments he planned to present would be quite scientific and that the investigation was almost complete. He declined to say a motive or theory, but did say the pecuniary gain aspect is an allegation that $15,000 in gold had been stolen by Becky from Linda, and various possible information about the motel we're still trying to flesh out. The $15,000 was money that was taken from the motel, we believe. So we just talked about quite a bit of missing gold.
Sounds like they're saying that a large chunk of that was stolen by Becky.
Yeah, I think that's what they're alleging. One important motion filed by the defense before the June 12th hearing was that they would not contest the heinous nature of the crime and the bloody condition of Linda's body if the judge prohibited the display of crime scene photos at the trial. The defense wrote that Rebecca stipulates to the cause and manner of death and also to the location of the body. In light of the defendant's stipulation and the fact that the photographs of the deceased are extremely grotesque, the photographs should not be admitted. And I think this is just part of the cat and mouse game that you see in a lot of murder trials. Okay, the prosecution wants to show the jury these photos, and they're going to be nasty. They are really going to not paint a picture. They're going to show what really happened to this woman.
And when they do that, if they can do that, the defense knows they're going to lose some people on that jury.
Yeah. So why not make the effort to stipulate to these things if the pictures won't be shown? But it wasn't going to matter because on August 6, 2020, Rebecca O'Donnell pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. According to KAIT 8, Rebecca said in court, "I went to Linda's house and I intentionally killed her and then hid the body." She also pleaded no contest to 2 counts of solicitation to commit capital murder. So basically, she's just saying, I did it all.
It was me.
I did it. Rebecca was sentenced to 50 years in prison. She received 40 years for murder and 3 years for abusing a corpse, plus 7 years each for the 2 charges of solicitation to commit capital murder, but those were set to run concurrent to the 43-year sentence. Butch Smith called the murder an awful deed carried out of hate, jealousy, and greed. He believes Rebecca was stealing money from his mother, and when Linda confronted her, she snapped. And he said she stabbed my mother to death in a fit of rage and perceived self-preservation to prevent herself from going to jail. And we kind of hinted at it, talked about it a little bit when we discussed the prosecution's theory. And it turned out that they were pretty spot on. Tim Loggins released a statement after the guilty plea, saying, "Initially, for various reasons, I believed with all my heart that Becky was innocent. No one wants to believe anyone close to them is capable of doing something so heinous. My heart at that time would not let me believe what I later learned to be true, that Becky murdered Linda. That realization was one of the most difficult of my life, to accept that I lived with someone so deviant, someone who could not only take a life, but the life of someone who helped her in so many ways, without any indication of the darkness in her heart, was heartbreaking."
Well, I bet it was, because he was convinced she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, but I also think there was some suspicion on him as well. We kind of talked about it. Could he be involved? Did people think he was involved? You know, people thought this power of attorney thing was a little strange. Yeah. Was he also maybe pilfering some money? It sounds like he wasn't. But then you find out that, okay, they obviously must have investigated him. He was never charged with anything. So it sounds like what he had said in all of his statements was true. He was helping out Linda.
Right.
She asked him to be her power of attorney, and he didn't get anything out of it. And he certainly didn't abuse it, is what it sounds like.
But he was definitely blindsided by Rebecca.
Oh, no doubt. And I think it goes back to what you and I were talking about. Who wants to believe someone they love, someone they've known for a long time, is capable of doing something like this. It's very tough. After the guilty plea, a 313-page investigative file was released. The following quotes come from KAIT 8 and the Arkansas Times. According to inmate interviews, Rebecca was caught on camera with a bloody knife in Linda's home. They also had the footage from the security company. One video from Linda's driveway at 4:48 p.m. has audio of a woman believed to be Linda screaming from inside the house. 2 videos from inside cameras show Rebecca holding a bloody knife near the area where Linda was killed. The other video shows her leaving the house with a red purse and a camera. Investigators believe that Rebecca took Linda's phone, which was also missing. The phone had the app that Linda used to manage her security account. Rebecca also tried to remove Linda's security cameras after she was found dead. According to the file, O'Donnell stated that they had removed cameras from Linda's residence after Linda had been found murdered. Rebecca said they were returned because they weren't working.
All right, so she took them down thinking maybe they might have something on them, and she got rid of them and just told the police that we just returned them because they weren't working.
Yeah. So that was her. Well, yeah, so she's got to come up with a reason, right, for why she took the cameras down. Rebecca reportedly told inmate Cassandra Geoffrion that there is video of her buying bleach and a video of her holding a knife with blood on her while standing over the body of Linda Collins. Rebecca claimed that after she picked up Linda from the airport, she cut up chicken for her and that law enforcement made the video look like she was covered in blood. She's got an answer for everything.
Yeah, she does.
You know, I've cut up a lot of chicken in my life.
Yeah.
I've even cut live chickens. I'm assuming that's not what she's talking about here. When I get a whole chicken from the grocery, or I'm cutting up some Tyson chicken breasts.
You're not getting bloody, are you?
No, not at all.
Nope.
It's not even going to look like it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Now, unless she was killing a live chicken
inside the house,
inside the kitchen, then what she's saying just doesn't make sense.
Well, a lot of the stuff she says doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I get the feeling that, at this point, she's just grasping at straws, just saying whatever she can say to make herself look even the tiniest bit better. Rebecca also talked to an inmate named Patricia Combs, according to the Arkansas Times. She was asked if Rebecca had said anything about her current charges and the investigation. Combs said that Rebecca told her that she and Tim Loggins took down the surveillance system and that Tim left one up and they had missed one. Rebecca said that she was seen on camera with a knife and blood, but she was just cutting up chicken. Combs told Rebecca that there isn't that much blood in chicken. Rebecca laughed and said, "Girl, I was cutting up a chicken."
Girl, I was cutting up a chicken. That's her answer.
I don't know. I really don't know. Now, Rebecca didn't deny that she was covered in blood. She just kept trying to, put it off as her cutting up chicken. Another inmate said that Rebecca claimed Linda was stabbed 16 times, but investigators haven't released that information. More information was released about Rebecca's plot to kill Phil Smith, the judge and prosecutor, and more information was released about the gold and silver coins. Additionally, when one inmate refused to participate in Rebecca's murder for hire plot, she asked another inmate to kill her. "You don't want to kill for me? I'll get somebody to kill you."
How you like that?
She's trying to have everybody killed.
She's a character.
I don't know if character's strong enough.
No.
She's something else. I don't know what to call her at this point. Rebecca's plan was to make it seem like Phil Smith killed his wife and then took his own life. She planned to frame Henry Boyce by making it look like he framed her to cover up what she called his misdeeds. She wrote suicide notes and gave them to inmate Cassandra Geoffrion. The FBI determined that Rebecca wrote the notes. Probably not too hard in analyzing the handwriting. Inmates said that Rebecca also wanted a computer expert to send a virus to the Arkansas Crime Lab computers as well as her lawyer's computers to destroy the security system evidence.
Yeah, you'll find that in the while you're sitting in prison. Hey,
A hacker
yeah, can you do me a favor?
that has no access to a computer. But also, here again, is she thinking that there's still not a copy of this back at the security place? I mean, I truly believe that this was her thinking. When they got it from the security place, that was it, right? There is no other copy.
Yeah.
When in fact, you're just making a copy of whatever they have there.
Exactly.
Most likely. It's not like an original document. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think she understood that.
No, I don't think she understood the technical side of things at all. And I think that's pretty plain to see, as you go through all the evidence. Rebecca told the inmate that she would be paid with gold and silver. And Rebecca explained how she took it and sold it for $15,000 to $18,000, according to the report. On November 8th, 2019, Phil Smith told the ASP that about $25,000 worth of gold and silver coins were missing from Linda's home. When he went to get the box they were stored in, they were gone. But Smith said, but those people knew about it. They knew that that money was there and that those coins were there and that Linda had done something. And this quote refers to Rebecca and Tim Loggins. Phil Smith also said that Linda told him she couldn't find the coins either. So I said Tim kind of had this cloud hanging over him for a period of time. It sounds like Phil Smith was a little suspicious of him as well.
Well, Tim and Rebecca were close. They did things together.
And they were close to Linda.
And that's the key.
Reports show that on September 25th, 2018, Rebecca traveled to Little Rock and sold 22 gold coins and 2 rings to gold and diamond prospectors for $3,000. On October 18th, she sold $4,590 worth of coins to Memphis gold buyers. On November 16th, she went to the same store and sold $7,520 worth of coins. So in total, she earned a little over $15,000 from these 3 transactions. On December 14th, 2021, the Arkansas State Police released a large portion of the case file. A judge ordered them to release it after several members of the media filed a lawsuit. One report shows that investigators found blood and Clorox in the kitchen and that the bottle had what looked like blood smeared on the nozzle. Fox 16 reported that Rebecca is incarcerated in another state and her location cannot be made public. As we wrap up this case, Gibbs, Linda Collins was murdered by someone she thought she could trust, someone she thought cared about her, someone that she cared about. It's possible that if Rebecca O'Donnell had managed to delete the security footage from cloud storage, she might have gotten away with murder.
Maybe.
So, definitely you could say that technology led to a fast resolution in this case. If Rebecca O'Donnell knew a little bit more about how technology worked, could she have gotten away with it? Maybe.
Possibly.
But
she didn't.
No, she didn't. And that's a good thing. But there's no doubt in my mind, this is a greed story. This was a greedy woman who wanted what her supposed friend had and, was taking advantage of her, was pilfering. And I do believe Linda found out about it. She confronted her and Rebecca thought, I got to eliminate her or I'm going to jail for a very long time.
So I'm going to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
Keep myself from going to jail.
Like you said, she got caught. She's going to be in jail for a long time anyway. I do also want to kind of go back to this Tim Loggins guy.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like he was a good guy, but he was so linked to Rebecca and to Linda as well. It seems pretty natural for people to at least be suspicious of him.
Of course.
Back early on. Sounds like Phil was suspicious of him as well. But it turns out, as far as I could tell, he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
No charges, no, the police never said anything about it. So, that would be tough. But obviously, later on when it comes out, hopefully, he's gone on to be fine. But there's the kids.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Tate and Butch.
Yeah. They lost their mother, and I don't know, just all around tough story. It has nothing to do with her being high profile, a politician, nothing like that. What's really scary about this case for me is thinking that your really good friend, because everything I took from this was that they were really good friends,
right?
Could kill you over some money.
Greed, man.
Yeah, greed is powerful, and it makes people do unbelievably bad things. But that's it for our episode on Rebecca O'Donnell. We got some voicemails. You want to check those out?
Yeah, let's hear them.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Alani from South Florida. I just want to say that I love your podcast. I'm a fairly early listener, and you two do one thing that I love, which is absolutely call all these people out on every dumb decision they've ever made. Anyway, as I said, I'm a fairly early listener, so I wouldn't know for sure. But I was wondering if you have covered the Michelle Young murder case. It took place in North Carolina, I believe. There was this young mother who was found in her home, and her toddler was in the house. Anyways, her husband was convicted of the crime, but I heard there was a lot of controversy with the evidence, and it was actually one of my very first true crime cases, like one of the ones that caught my eye. Anyway, keep doing what you're doing, and keep your own time ticking. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks for the voicemail. No, I don't think we've done that case. I don't even know if I've heard of that one.
I don't know if we have.
No, so we need to look into it for a future episode, definitely.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. My name is Keeleen. I'm calling from North Carolina. Just wanted to say I absolutely love your guys' podcast. Listen to you guys all the time. You guys have helped me out so much with my depression, anxiety, and all that. And yeah, the topics you guys cover absolutely phenomenal. And as someone who studies social work and psychology, well, studied, I have those bachelor degrees now. I want to go into something crime-related or something helping out with victims, whether it's victims of various crimes, sexual assaults, anything like that. And yeah, your guys' show has inspired me with that. And I did also want to comment, as someone with autism, it's not offensive at all to say autistic child or autistic person. It varies between person to person, whether they prefer identity first language or person first language. Most autistic people that I have personally come across prefer identity first language, so using autistic person rather than person with autism. But yeah, it just depends on person to person, as with anything. But yeah, I'm hoping you guys are having a great day, and keep your own time ticking.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in. It's very interesting because, the person that left that voicemail saying that we should be using person first language or first person language or however it's termed, sent me an email the very next day after the voicemail aired saying that they were talking to an autistic person with whom they work, and this person corrected them and said, no, you're wrong. It's okay either way.
Either way, yeah.
And echoed what she just said, which is actually most autistic people prefer the other way. Now, what I've heard from many listeners is that what we did well was using both, because you're not picking one way or the other because you don't know what the intended target prefers.
Exactly.
So it's actually good from what I'm hearing to sprinkle in some of both, but it's not offensive to use either one.
That's good to know.
So it's a good clarification. All right, buddy, we had no mailbag. So that is it for this episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
It was over 30 years ago that Clifford Olson first called me. secret phone calls from Canada's most notorious serial killer.
I knew I was killing the children, but I couldn't stop myself.
Now it's time to unearth the tapes, because I believe there are still answers to be found. I'm Arlene Bynum from CBC's Uncover, Calls from a Killer. Available now.